our faces, some of us.
Don't. We're happy, sir. We're happy, sir, buddy. So,
My.
Heavenly Father, we welcome you here to our podcast. And, of course, not winner as Arsenal fan, staunch Arsenal fan. What was that time, you know? Not winner. You can see, you know, not to Arsenal, you know, we've shown
Therefore, Jay-Z, Arsenal.
this one.
Yes.
This one is very rare because I've been to Amakwata radio here white. This one is very rare.
Yes.
So while we in a game lero, and we've been telling our no, also not but I'm special surprises, and people don't understand. But anyway, that aside,
Game 2 ero mambo kusabaira ba Arsenal.
Okay, let's not put football games now. Let's talk about why we're here. First of all, the name is Chanda Chilufya, broadcasting live from Ontario, Canada, and I've got my elder statesman, Dan, Dr. Dan. Obviously is broadcasting from Ontario or from Puerto Rico. Is having a good time in Puerto Rico, and just show us the beach one more time, so that show us the beach so that people can at least just show us the beach.
Wewe folk mana beach?
We
Beach yako yaba kusamfie.
You see that? Oh.
That's a good one, right? That's Zambia Beach. Zambia Beach.
And of course, our very own Washtumba Wasumkonda from Lusaka, Zambia. So we've got so many issues, Vane, that we need to dive in. But the main topic I think we've been seeing on the internet is the issue of Vanan Kaneva, the young man actually of the president's son. Okay, the president's son went for a training. He went for a training, and it's ZNS military training, and people now are catching feelings, or they're saying, "Oh, why would he go to a military training? Why are they, because he's the president's son?" But I'm thinking to myself, I was like, if I remember very well, Bakaunda took his kids to military. It's not for amusement. It's not for anything, but it's for discipline. Even Castro, that time when Chile was in power, he tried to use that as well. But Castro was a different animal. He just did whatever he did. That military training didn't work for him. Okay, and you saw how it ended. But the military training here, but I don't know. Vachitumba, what's your take on this one?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I think for me, there's no problem in that one. On that one. Yeah, I've seen people they are commenting, is a president's son, what? But I don't know which law or which constitution we are using, or where it says a president's son is not supposed to go under any military training. I don't know. So as long as there is no law, it's okay. There's no problem. If someone wish to go for that training, there's no problem. That is what I can say. There's nothing wrong in that. And he's a Zambian. That's all. He went under military training. In military, there are rules there. Unless if you say he went there, also maybe he was misbehaving because the president's son. Yes, we can comment, but there's no such report. So it's okay. There's nothing wrong. I submit.
Thank you. But Dan. Mr. Dan, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, I've been following this debate, not debate, sort of. I don't know how to describe the talk from the opposition, saying there's a bit of noise here. Isn't it? Is it clear?
No, you're good. You're good. We can't hear the noise.
Can't hear the noise. Okay, let me just step up here. So anyway, the opposition are mainly the ones that are talking about this, and they are saying no. HH had said that my children will never work for the government.
Yes.
One, two. They are saying HH's son, when he went there, when they asked him his name, when registering, he didn't mention his real name. He mentioned a fake name. Okay, he's a young man. He probably didn't want attention. Okay, he didn't want to be, attention to be drawn on him. So he just wanted to deceive the recruiters so that they don't know who he is. So there's no ill intention of trying to. He was just trying to make sure that nobody is disrupted by saying, "Oh, man, about president, man, about president." So most likely mentioned, there's no proof. They haven't produced any proof. The opposition that he had. They are saying that he went and got a raw registration card. They haven't produced that registration card, which they're saying it had fake names when they're recruiting. From my understanding is that when somebody asked him who he was, he mentioned a fake name so that they don't associate him with the president. But the papers that he used were genuine papers. But during the talking and all that, someone said, "Oh, this looks like the president's son." He said, no, I'm not the president's son. My name is this. So that's what they took. And so to me, it's okay. The boy wants to serve his nation. Also, the father says there's nothing wrong with my son joining national service. After all, military training, there's a lot of discipline involved in military training. So his son is going to learn a lot of life survival skills, which is very good. Most likely he's not going to do something after that anyway. He just wants to go there for those life learning opportunities, life skills learning opportunities. And after that, you will find he might do something else. He might be an accountant, or he might be or whatever. So to me, there's nothing wrong with that, other than the opposition having nothing to do, as always. They have nothing to do, and so all they can do is to start talking about this. If you look at the press conferences the opposition have had, they are all based on social media and all that. They have nothing to offer the Zambian people. For the first time, I've heard one opposition leader say something sensible that we expect from opposition leaders. He said they're talking about what they're going to do when they come in power. Only one person has said it. Maybe some of you have not heard him. Binwa Mpundu or something like that. He came or he was being interviewed, and he said, "I don't want to talk about HH. I don't want to talk about this. I just want to talk about what I'm going to do when I come in power." That's the language we want from opposition. Not HH, and they were talking about Lili Mutazi, whatever. But even they were talking about Lili Mutazi. I don't even know who that Lili Mutazi is. And they were talking about Zalomis. Oh, this. Come on, opposition. We can do better than that. Thank you.
Yeah, well, that's a well said presentation. Actually, we all echo the same sentiments, and everybody in Zambia are asking to say, where's the real opposition? Where are people that are going to give real checks and balances when it comes to the political scene in Zambia? Takwishive mwina Zambia olionze who the opposition is or it's going to be. That's why we're like whitewashing. But when we break it down, kuri issue you know, ya kwa HH span, uh, there are so many examples that we can put in place, especially world leaders. There are so many world leaders that have put their children through military. Even us, who are a British protectorate, who were colonized by the British. All Banama principal, I won't say they went through the same thing. Okay? They went through military training. So it's not a matter of getting a job. No, it's a matter of the principle of being disciplined. And if your father is a world leader, you have to understand how certain things work. Okay? Same thing in Abakaunda. That's why they took, he took his children through that same thing, so that they understand and they learn that, look, these are national, you're no longer just an ordinary child. You're a child of a leader. And you have to have certain skills, certain knowledge that you need to, it need to be embroidered in you. Okay? As young as you are. Okay? Ekiri abadanka ne twalikweteko ba brigadier, Panji Kaunda. Those are the things. You see? But him is just a lieutenant. He just a lieutenant, and about why have they appointed him? Why have they appointed? Like, he wasn't appointed. He went through the same military training like any other individual. Montorios just go through the same thing, just like any other ordinary Zambian. And the reason now they're bringing up is, why did he use a different name? That's for security reasons. That can be done, and he can use his real name, and he can obviously, back in the days, obviously you can say, okay, why did the Kaunda children use their real name? That is back in the days. Back in the days. Now, as we're looking at the way the world has evolved and the way the world is, using an alias was the best option, and that is going to be done through the Ministry of Defense. So, Ministry of Defense, they worked hand in hand, and they thought about this, and they said, look, let's bring him into that training as an individual, not as the president's son. So, looking at if Zambians are upset because he went for that, he didn't go there to get somebody's job. No. If I remember correctly, few years back, the president was on the podium. He was saying, like, look, I want to reintroduce ZNS. Okay? Because some of us as well growing up, I remember my uncle used to tell me one thing. He used to say, like, look, Chanda, I went through immediately when I graduated high school. They came to take me to go for Zambia National Service training immediately. I think those days was just mandatory. Like, if you just graduate, grade 12, ZNS. That's what it was. So he used to tell me the stories. He used to tell me. It's like, no, the way it was is like, you go to military training, and they would do teach us all different things and stuff like that. And I can tell you right now, and those were like, I don't know, years later, when he was telling me this, he was telling me, I can tell you right now, my name and my the game, the what is the my gun number. Because every gun you're specified to a gun. They give you a gun, and there's the serial number there, and you have to master it. That's yours, and you have to use it through the whole entire operation or training. He used to tell me, like, if today nkakwabuka fenkondo somewhere or Zambia, I would go there and volunteer myself to say, I'm here, I trained, and my gun number is this is my gun number. You know? And they'll give me that gun, the same gun I used when I was training. So, these issues here, about the President San and stuff like that, I think we need to really, reallocate energies in something else than concentrating on, a young man that went through a training, which the president actually said, like, look, when I introduce this free training, reintroduce it, my children will be the first people to go there and train. He said it. He said, my children will be the first people to go and train because this is a volunteer military training system for ZNF. You go there as a volunteer, they train you and stuff like that. And then if they want to employ you, they can employ you. But if not, then that's just what it is. Instead of children hanging around in the streets of Lusaka, smoking glue, stealing from the people, and there's no solution. Take those children to those military programs instead of the opposition saying, "Oh no, it's a good program." Why don't we get those children in the streets to go and access those kind of trainings so that we decongest the streets of Lusaka? Tumba, action.
Yes, it's very what you said. It's very very true, and I think we waste a lot of time talking of or discussing issues which is non-contentious, because discussing someone the president son went to school. The entire social media is about the son's president son. But why do you waste such time? Time is money, time is precious, but we waste a lot of time, especially the opposition. We don't have opposition in Zambia, but they waste time, which is discussing unnecessary issues. Why? That's why I think I don't pay much attention to this opposition because they don't have anything to offer, not at all. They are just wasting time. How can you go and start discussing a president's son and we even know the examples? There's something that you can discuss. Let's discuss maybe some we have road shading. Okay, me, I have this plan, let's do this. I'm thinking this direct, but you start discussing about the president son. And you go and hold a press briefing, honestly speaking. I think they are not, opposition, they are not serious. They are not serious. They have to organize themselves, and I think they have to start discussing something which is progressive, not what they are doing. Like they are grade fives. I submit.
Thank you very much. I think we're joined by Vakazia, uh, our opposition leader here. So, Vakazia, we've been discussing. Several. In fact, the first topic we've been discussing is the issue of Mwana Wawa Kateka going through a military training, and then it raises certain eyebrows to say nishi bamtwalira ku military or nishi alamkupuka jobs for the ordinary Zambian person. So that's where we are. We're trying to diffuse, or maybe just to explain to the people so that people understand. Mwalimu Leba imwe.
Okay.
Explain some certain things.
Okay. I think the concern for me, first of all, our president is Zambian like any one of us. Any of the children, probably even more Zambian than some of our children that were born elsewhere. That is the first fact. And he deserves everything else that every young Zambian aspires to be. The issue at hand is not about umwana waba president. And if we try to make it about umwana waba president, it will be very, 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 very unfair to put it just about him. It is about the integrity of the office of the presidency. What is coming out of the mouth of the president? Epali ilibwa ubwafya obu. And I was following up on a certain article that I found online, and there are a few things that I think he might have put the author put probably in a better context than me, because he spoke about things about the trust, things about the words that come out of our leaders, and then also the potential risks that if we do not hold what people say to account. Because, like I've spoken to you colleagues in the past, the president cannot just say anything like any one of us. There is no time for a joke. If the president jokes, his joke is taken seriously. His joke can be out of context. Whatever comes out of his mouth and can easily be misinterpreted. That is why what he says is a matter of public scrutiny. The biggest problem is the guidance the president was giving about his own family. And this guidance was not provoked or someone asked him about whether he would take his children elsewhere. No, he himself said, I would not take my children through this process of ZNS, and not even ZNS, public service, because my children are privileged and they have to leave these positions for someone else. And you see, well and good, maybe he changes his mind. So if he changes his mind again, there is nothing wrong with the president changing his mind to say, now I think after my second thought, my child is going to go back into the military and do this. There's nothing wrong. What compounds it is now, after people question it, the answers that start to come out of the people that are supposed to give us information about it. One, first of all, there is a communication specialist within State House, Mr. Hamasaka. And I think if I was of the people that spoke, I would align myself more to Hamasaka wanting to do a bit of damage control of what was coming out. But then he is quickly thrown under the bus. And how is he thrown under the bus? Tabo Kawana and the armed people go now on this public spectacle and start giving us even things that we're not supposed to know. These things should not even be discussed in public. For instance, why should you be telling us that, oh, he was trained, he was eating the same food, so he was using a fake name? Now, why are you telling us all that? If we question it, it is okay to say, I think on the second thought, the president saw it wise that his child should go back where? There's nothing wrong. We can condemn him, we can tell him that, but that would be the truth, that the president is a human being who can change his mind. But now, when people start to twist now, oh, fake name, oh, fake this, oh, he is an adult who made his own decision. Now, if he's an adult who made his own decision, are you going to hold him accountable for fake things that came in as an adult? So, for me, I do not think that whether the child of the president should be having to go for those, he is entitled. And it is something we must all defend, that he is entitled, but then hold the president accountable for his statements and his words, not the son. I would not put this on Habuela. It would be unfair to put this on him. I think that would be my submission. That is what is causing the whole Abaru, in as far as I see it.
Okay, so since you've raised that issue, and the name issue, I think what we need to understand is this: there is no law, or there's nothing wrong in him using a different name. As a matter of fact, for security reasons, a high profile person like him is actually encouraged to use a different name. Because why? He is going to be, treated like just the ordinary person. Because if he went there to say, Habwera Akainde, HS San, the officers, the training officers would have been giving him special treatment. That's a fact. Now, to avoid all that, because the president in his mind and the advisor, like, look, we want our son to go there just like an ordinary person, just like an ordinary Zambian. The same training that each and every Zambian goes through, he goes. He goes through the same thing, okay, without getting any privileges, without getting any support or sponsor or all those other things. He just goes there as an ordinary Zambian. That was the reason. So now that put in place, why would especially our opposition have to come and say, ah, webani, ninchi bawe heshina ya imbi. Look, this is not the first time this is happening.
Okay, but maybe the one thing I would want to share with you is that it is not the first time that someone from State House or the son of the president has gone through training, military training. It is not the first time. When Kane Panji Kaunda and whatever Wezi Kaunda went for training, they did not use pseudonyms.
Mhm.
The people that are training them must have the integrity to say that it does, because when he is there for training, he is not a son of the president. He is a Zambian who is treated with equal measure with everybody. Of course, yes, they were going to pay a little bit more attention to make sure that he is safe. That one, whether he uses his pseudonym, because there will be someone known. There's someone who knows about him. It's not a totally like, oh, everything is cut. No, they will just make sure that, oh, he is safe enough that not to be injured by an outside force, but probably he can be exposed to the same dangers that everyone else is exposed during the training, but not that an outsider should come and harm him because he's son of the president. That is what they just have to take care of. But to know that it is his name, but there is nothing wrong. He is not a criminal to hide his name. And apparently, even if we know he's given a special, it's better that way because he is Zambian. And one thing, he's a Zambian youth who must be treated just like any other of the youth. We shouldn't elevate him to this level whereby now to Amupanga a superhuman being like now Ambukuwa to the same level like the presidency. Are we? We must not do that because you see, positions change. If we are not careful, this boy or this son of the president will be placed in arm's length for another government that may come, which is not UPND. For instance, and I'm going to give you a specific example. If we treat him as an adult who was not helped, or maybe certain things were not done on him, he made his own decisions. Do you know that he would have committed forgery and things like that? Because he is an adult who's made his own decision. But then, if it is a system trying to help him, maybe other security measures can come in. So we must be very careful with how we trade with this. He deserves the training. But this is not about the son. It is about our president and the statements he's made without even offering any reversal of what he has said or change of mind, of which he has a right to. So I don't think that we should be able to even hide his identity. That is his identity. It's not going to change. I think he's a good role model if he uses his own names and we know, okay, he's being trained. There's nobody why should we have a problem with him going for training? we shouldn't have a problem with him going for training. In fact, we must encourage him. And for me, going through that training elevates his level of discipline. But then it is the statements that are coming from the head of state that I think everyone has a problem with. And that is one thing that I think Clayson was trying to do. Tabo Kawan and his friends threw him under the bus and they totally took things out of context. So on this one, I think I would give kudos to Clayson and not the other guys that jumped in. Clayson understood the mission. The other guys did not understand what they were talking about.
You know, from Malanda, you know, it's somewhat right, but here's the thing: we need to distinguish the reasons and distinguish, you know, an individual. Abuela is not just like an ordinary Zambian. He's not. Yeah? He's a president's son, and then using you know a different name. There's no crime about that, and there's nothing that can implicate him in future. There's no crime about that. Okay, we want to acquire. So let's understand one thing. So he is not going to be like we are saying, like, look, in the future maybe. No, a lot of examples can be given about world leaders that took their children to military training. Examples are there. You can go and search for yourself. But what we're looking at is this: Omwina Zambia, despite, like I was saying in the previous conversation, like, look, despite despite Abena Kaunda, they went there, you know, Panji Kaunda, and they used their real name, and they went for that. We're living in a different world now. That's one thing we need to understand. We're living in a different world, in different time zone. So if you know Mbeshi, the way the world looks at things, it's not the way they were looking at it 40 years ago. It's totally different. Totally different. And if the president's saying, like, Awe, can he go in and get that military training without exposing himself as you know, as a president's son? That's a good move. Why? Because he'll be treated equally. He'll be treated like just like any ordinary person, like me. If I go to a military training, I'll be treated the same way, like him, without even knowing that he's the president's son. Moment. Okay. So I can give you a classic example. A classic example, you know, Bakazia. When I was in boarding school, your older brother is there, okay, is a grade 12. You go in as a grade 10. So you start having those privileges. You know, you're protected because your brother is there. Now, when your brother leaves, he graduates. Now you go there. Now you're on your own. What's going to happen? So those are the things. Like, you need to understand. Like, like when you're growing up in stuff like that. Some of us, we can even understand. Like, when I was growing up in boarding school, from grade 10 up to grade 12, I went through this. And you go through hazing and all this stuff and all that bullying and stuff like that. You go through that. Okay? And
Anyway,
there's nobody
anyway,
to protect you.
yeah, because if you look at, I was also checking maybe somehow what the law may look like, because you see the
There's no
penal
law.
code.
There's no law, Dal.
Can I cite the law probably?
Cite it.
Okay, the Defense Act, and I think that should be around the section 65, provides that any person who knowingly made a false answer or to questions contained in an attestation paper shall be liable to imprisonment of not exceeding what. So I think this talks about maybe if he's authorized and then has made the false claims and stuff like that. But in the Zambian penal code, you can be arrested under penal code, under Cap 87 of the laws of Zambia. You can be arrested for fraud, forgery, and giving false information. Under the Zambian law, you will be arrested for that. I have seen teachers that have been arrested because they used fake names and they go to sit for exams, they pass the exam, they even get employed. There is
So,
sufficient laws. The only problem I have, that's why I'm telling you to say, when someone is in the office like the president is right now, this is not a problem for him because the wheels of governance and the entire system is tailored, skewed towards protecting him for such. Even in the midst of the penal code being clear about the, forgery and giving false information, it's very clear about that. The penal code is clear about the military. The Zambia Defense Force Act is clear about that. The State Security Act is also gives up Section 6 personnel or force of presentation of himself to be a person holding or employing a person and holding office under government. So there is all these things, even in the public service. There is in the employment code. There is, you can't give false information about yourself. Now there are maybe exceptions which would be used if probably maybe at very high levels of the military they authorized that, which maybe our colleague Clayson was not aware of.
right.
So I really see a bit of a problem.
Machanda,
Mukwai.
yeah, yeah. Maybe I want to ask maybe just a question because what we are discussing, we are just discussing. It's not confirmed. We are just discussing on the perceptions or others. Is it this report to say he used the fake name? It came from the defense forces to say, oh, us we didn't know that he was a son of the president because he was using different name. Because those are the people now supposed to confirm. Then from there, if the defense forces, that's when now we can start now discussing. But if that report is not coming from the, which means we're just speculating. We don't
No,
know
no,
really the truth.
but Mukonda, it
So
came
that's why
from
me,
them.
I think in my comment, I said, I think on this issue, don't maybe we're not supposed to take much of discussion
Right.
because we're just discussing something that maybe it's not even there.
No, you see, for me, that's why I was saying this is not about more. For me, it's not more about what the son did, the name, and everything else, but it is about the president's statement. You know what the president said and what he did, what he actually encouraged the son to do, is at variance. It is at variance. It is not me who said it. He said it is online, not once in different fora. He said it. So what he said and what has the outcome of what he said is different. It's like me, Basmukonda, is I stand in the podium of the church. I say, me, I cannot allow my son to go drinking. He should not encourage to be drinking and everything. Then the next day you find me and my son in the bar drinking. How do you look at me? Who said it? Because I can as well keep quiet and let him enjoy his beer. But people are going to ask me. Imwe vakazi mumari muchechimairo mureranda tumwana takarumwepo obwalo lero anoshana ubwalo namwikala muletamba. These are some of the things. Words matter, and these are the things that we must be able to encourage the president not to do, not to go and switch and defend and say, no, let's now look at Ushe is not Zambian. In any way, to start to think that where I was didn't deserve to go for training, he deserves it. He's a Zambian like any one of us. Never nabeso. Mwamona. But whichever we shift the balance, muneti poshani. Are you endorsing that is correct to do? If you're endorsing that, then I rest my case. We move on to the next one.
Fantastic. Yeah. No, obviously we'll have to move on to the next point, but just to accommodate other people that maybe have a different issue. Uh, we can say uh, we welcome Vakalinda. Vakalinda, I think she has something to say, and before she says anything, uh, for when
Unmute
Arsenal,
Wakalinda mwe.
for when Arsenal,
Oh my god. Echo
that one.
bayishila Wakalinda. Oh my goodness.
Ah, yeah, my. Can you all hear me? Madam Gufwa, can you hear me?
Everybody can
Loud
hear
and
you.
clear.
All
Oh
right,
my,
now
oh
let me
my word.
start.
Oh my God.
Now to London forever.
Wafwa.
Whatever the weather, these streets are on, and my never leave you, never. Okay, now that I've gotten rid of that out of my system, hey, what are we talking about? Okay, now tell me, where are we at? Just because I
What
don't.
we're talking about, one,
Mhm.
tulira pali iliya ya kwa Aguera, Eche, son, when he went to the military training, people were, and armed to say, nishi bamutwala kunani, why is he getting our jobs? Okay? Uh, and for the opposition, they don't understand that Eche said it, actually he said it, say, look, when I reintroduce the ZNS system, the first people that are going to go military training are my children. People forget.
I
People forget.
remember. Yes. I
He
mean,
said that. He
why?
said my
I mean,
children will be the first people to go to the ZNS training.
and it's voluntary. They're not getting
Yes.
paid.
Yes.
They just went there to learn skills. Hawala Hagainde is just like any other Zambian kid who wants to learn a skill. Just because he's the president's son, we want him to just, let these opportunities go by. If he's qualified, why not? Why aren't we talking about people? I mean, sons who are getting 79 luxury cars as birthday presents. Why are we talking about daughters
Mm.
of some people who are getting thousands and thousands of hectares of land in Eastern Province? Why are we talking about other people's daughters that were getting houses and business injections of millions? Why are we talking about other people's wives who were roaming around the streets of Lusaka with $400,000 cash and 18 uh, houses or condominiums? Why are we talking about that? The kid is, how old is he? 18, 19. He goes to military service to learn about how to be disciplined, how to be an electrician. You know, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with us as a people? We are covering other people's kids who are getting our taxpayer money to get millions of properties and do luxurious things. He was eating cabbage in Kafue. He was eating carpenter, which he didn't have to. What's wrong with us? What's wrong with that? Don't you know what? Well, I think I feel repaid the number. I don't even know what to say. Not penalty. Because it's absolutely
Wakalinda tamwapeni.
ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous for us to be even having this conversation on Habuela Hagainde. He didn't even get one quarter from that training he had. All he went was to learn about discipline, how to be patriotic, and learn how to be an electrician or plumber. What's wrong with that? And then you want to cover other people's kids who got millions and millions as birthday gift. Come on, people, let's be serious. Nagma politics. We share the land there. I mean, there's a video that was circulating last week, which I posted on our forums. Nobody even commented about that. He said the first people who going to Zambia National Service were his kids.
You posted the wrong video.
Wait, it's a correct video.
Okay.
The much didn't comment.
Vakalinda, mwachitire post video, and which is very right. It was for the volunteers. Office cadets are not volunteers. Office cadets, lieutenant, they are not volunteers. The volunteers are starting this September, according to government statement.
Okay. But since you know a lot, you're former, PS and stuff, labor minister and stuff like that. I think at the end of the day, we need to understand one thing. He doesn't need a job. Okay, so the key component here is the opposition party, more from Leland, that he is taking a job for one Zambian.
Yes, actually, he did. He's taking a job.
Yeah, where?
Let me tell you how he has taken a job. I'll give a justification.
Let's not create issues where there are no issues. Let's not create
I thought you were asking
a different perspective, because the Mwina Zambia, that was him going just to train. Okay, it's not going there to say I want to be employed in ZNS. No, it's not that. That's not what it is. So Mwina Zambia, he just went there to get the training, not to say, oh, I want to be employed by the government, which the president himself said. They're not going to be employed in the government system.
What's Rufia?
Why?
I think for me, that's why this issue, whether it's getting a job, is not getting a job, is qualified. It's not even getting for a job for someone. He's a Zambian. He's entitled. He's a Zambian like me. I can give you an example. Tasila Lungu, before the father became a president, he was in America. He came back after the president or the father was the president. He was elected as a councillor in Chawama. Later on as a what? As a member of parliament. So he got a job for a Zambian. No, he's qualified. She was qualified.
I asked a question here. You went mute once, including you, Basimukon. I want you to answer this question. And this question is very clear. One, if Edgar Lungu had stood up on the podium and said, I will never, me and my wife Esther, we will not allow our child to enter politics. Politics. And the next thing, I contest as member of parliament. Would we say that is right? If we say, if we are going to say, if we
let me answer in this way.
Let me just finish.
Let me answer in this way.
Let me just finish. You see, if we're going to say, I can say something today as a leader today. I mean, a podium. Na ya chinja, na ya landa, ero secretly. Na ya sendomo anawandi na mpela pseudonym, ana ku training. I say no papa na ni padia. Ero na landa, that is okay. If you guys say that is fine, then I have no problem. That is how you judge it. This case about Abuela is not right, because Abuela is a Zambian who deserves everything. If you want to say but the question is, who is our current president? Are you endorsing?
Let me answer this. I want to answer.
If you are endorsing or not, I want to know.
Okay, I want to answer. The son of the president, for him to go under military is above 18 years. So he makes his own decision. So above 18 years, even if me, I say, I want my son to do this or to go and do this training, I think we've heard a lot of stories. No, my father never wanted Marenkanyo kuba footballer. We've heard those kind of stories. So for me, that is not wrong, and it's not a issue. That one is not a issue. Whether the father, whatever the president said, that is not a big issue. Is the son was old enough to make his own decision
Oh,
and to go the father's against the father's decision. It was
oh,
okay.
okay.
So me, that is what I get. So what the president said, that was not the issue. Me, I can say I don't want my son, for example, to go to under military. I want you to become a lawyer. But if my son says, no, me, I want to go under military, no matter what I'm going to say, that my son will go. Then I also no, because me, I said this and this. No, he's old enough to make his own what decisions. So he's above 18 years. He made his own decision and he went.
I am glad
That is what I so
Basimukonda.
whatever the father said, we can't say, me, I can say what I want to my son to be, but the last decision is the son to make. I
So,
submit.
so Basimukonda,
Thank you.
Okola
Okay.
question
All
uti.
right. Machina. Let's move on, and we got so many things to discuss. And but Danny, are you there, or you're still at the beach? That was very nice that you showed how the beach looks like. Okay, but Dan, are you there?
How is gone?
Oh, it's good. It's good. Okay,
He's
fine.
gone bakirufya n'ababasenda amasipa jojo. The weekend, he's a single man. Living it up.
so, so anyway, the big issue is this. First of all, before we move ahead, we need to acknowledge one thing. 16th of August, okay, was the day that HH was arrested. 16th of August. And then, for some God reason, God design, everything that happens, it's all about God. He makes things happen. On the 16th of 2021, what happened? He was the president of Zambia. So it's more like an angelical calling card that most people will not even understand, especially about opposition. When something happens, it happens for a reason. And looking at what I'm seeing, and I can tell you for a fact, I was one of the last people that went through the last Kaunda government, but I've gone through all these other governments, and I can say, as a safe side, to say we have the right individual in place. Because why? Looking at the calling cards, looking at everything, and looking at something when God says apa twakupera nischapo lesana bakupera, that's where we are right now. So all this opposition talk with no meaning whatsoever, I think is very disappointing, because we wanted to see something going on. But uh, next point is, I think everybody should be happy about this one. A huge project, big. They are saying they're going to put in fact, they've put in already. Okay? About a over $1 billion of investment, and they've opened up the you know, I think I would want Wagazia to come in chime in on this one. Okay? Kansenshi, the S3 expansion project. What are we going to gain from that? And why is it important for any Zambian living? Why is it important? Wakazia, are you there? Oh, obviously it's not there. Bakalinda, kukansenshi.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm quiet.
Okay, I couldn't hear the. Okay, Vakalinda, I will speak after you.
Okay. No, I want you to speak candidly on, first of all, labor relations for our people. Phenomenon number yeah, because that's your forte, and then Masimu Konda should speak on what's happening on the ground. How are the people feeling? And then in and Alaisa in that order. I want to hear those comments because I mean it's a huge investment. I mean they will be producing about 300,000 tons of copper. Let's think about that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the tons of money that's going to come into the country. Anyway, that's all I have to say for right now. But I want to hear from the two other people, starting with Bakazi, our beloved resident
Yeah,
PS.
I think you know every investment that come in Zambia for me is a good thing that happens. The the direct foreign investment that are coming right now in the mining sector is good, but I only have concerns which I think must be addressed, which I can question, not to stop the investment, no, but to question how certain things are done. Number one is that this huge investment, what is our stake in this investment, 2 billion, whatever, I don't know how many billions that is. What is our stake? Do we have a stake at the shareholding level, or it is 100% foreign owned? So ours is the offshoots of jobs, offshoot of suppliers and things like that. Is that what this big, is it 19 billion, Bachanda? They said, well, how many billions is that? Bachirupe?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure the exact billions.
Yeah,
I don't want to quote,
yeah.
but
So Vakalinda will
I
speak to
think
the,
they
no, no,
said
it's over. It's over a billion.
it's an additional 2 billion.
okay.
So they're
So
Yeah.
already $2 billion. So
okay,
Mm,
really, in total, we're looking at about somewhere around 4 billion in total.
okay. So this
Uh,
$4 billion investment that is coming in, what is our shareholding value to this in
okay.
these mines? What is our shareholding value?
Okay.
Because if we have, for me, is what I've been always preaching to. Now, the second part on labor relations, I think it is a high time. It is high time that the right salaries, right remuneration in the mines
Mm,
started.
mm,
It
mm.
is high time.
Okay.
Our miners are paid way too much peanuts,
Mm,
because you may find that the annual cost for all our miners may be just $50 million
mm.
out of a $4 billion, whatever investment that you see there. Maybe just 50 million. And that is the ones that are paid high. Because the concern that I have is that how do we explain that a person working in the mines, bringing these minerals out in the ground, is paid? I think the last time I checked was around $250 per month. And if they are working for the contractors, it even becomes worse, maybe $150 per month. And the entire value chain of the mine is never in kwacha. It is always in dollars. And when you look at other places, other countries on the similar level, similar to me, if you look at Australia and other places where everything's done in dollars, the list may be $3,000. That is what a miner gets.
Okay.
But then we are getting ourselves in 200s. And I hope the trade unions within these mines should be able to step up the negotiating capacity to make sure that they negotiate the right value for the labor, so that they start to discuss empowerment based kind of negotiations, where to a certain extent they can even have a negotiation for the shares within these mines. Because I think the investors have a right to come. They can't be telling us how we should negotiate with them. If they can cut the cost, the better. So the other things are for us, and also how much government is going to protect its own national interest. But I think so far, so good.
That's wonderful. I think that's a good submission. I think for once, I'm going to agree with what you're saying. I'm going to agree for this one. And furthermore, going to apply or upload or maybe amplify to the fact that uh, obviously there's nobody who want to be paid lower than what you know the the market is in that industry, and that's why Zambia is one of the top notch producers of all these minerals, and we need to understand, like, okay, if we're the top notch of all these minerals, starting from copper, uh, emeralds, and everything, and even gold. Now, as we're speaking, gold is being discovered everywhere. Okay, so we need to structure it in a level that we are the people that are running the business and determine the price and determine the salaries. Because if we're not running anything, people will determine our salaries and everything else. Kwatyo fa mulanda vakazia. So now going forward, I think there should be an emblem, and we should put something in place to say, in the mineral sector, in the mining sector, this is the level that we accept as a Zambian government. Anybody paid below this is going to be abrogating certain laws they have to put in place through parliament. You know, but here's what we're saying: we do not want, to deter partners. We want to work with them. And in the past, the way it was, if you look at the way it was in the Patriotic Front government, they were always, oh, whatever you say is the goal. There was no partnership. This current government is saying, let's partner. Then when we sit on the table, say, naita 20, waita 20, naita 30, waita 30. But where are we going to end? Okay? That's how it is. Partnerships. Okay? So that's the difference. And that's where, going forward, that's where it is actually going way much better than abantu abakwebati. Bafika tampoco awe tirishani hapa. Sendako kwa envelope. Oh, sendako kwa envelope. Get brown envelopes. We want to get away from the brown envelope era to partnership. Okay? So, after that has been said, who wants to come in?
Okay, thank you. Hello?
Hello, is it Badani?
Simkonda.
Oh, Vasimko. You know, Vasimko, they can come in, and then Badani can come in as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, Vachurufi, I think you remember what I said last week. For me, what I said last week, I was saying I didn't vote for this government to reduce the price of meal to 50 kwacha. No. It's for the future of this country. And the only way we can improve our economy or to grow the GDP is through investment. So this is a welcome. Copper belt was dead. Now we are coming back into Champions League as a copper belt. What does it mean? People will be employed there. Business people, the business will be improved. Marketeers, they are going to have something to sell. When the economy grows, what happens? That's when we're going to see the meal comes down. That's when we're going to see the bag of fertilizer comes down. That is what it means. This is the reason why we voted for this government. This is what we want as Zambians. We want investment. But I'll agree with what Wakazia said. It's not about bringing the foreign investment. Also, we have to look at the welfare of the Zambians, the salaries. That's why I wanted also maybe to ask Wakazia, because he was under labor. Where did he left the condition of service for the civil servants? All the civil servants, what did they start? Where did they end?
Okay.
To improve the condition of service, because these issues, almost all the those oppositions or whatever government that's coming, they talk about improving of condition for the workers, including the civil servants. But what are we doing about it?
So
Where did we left? Where did you find that? Where did we left?
okay, Basmukonda, you have asked me two things. First of all, I want to know if it is the civil service that you've gone to or it is the mines, because I had the privilege to see how the civil service salary structure was and also how the private sector, especially the mines, was and the things that were done. So which one do you want me to deal with first?
Okay, we can start with the mine.
Okay. So in the mines, number one, the first thing after we did a lot of inspections in almost all the mines, I went to all the mines. I had all the statistics in terms of the terms and conditions of service for both the Zambian workers and the expatriates, including their payrolls. I had a chance to look at both. Now, in the mines, what we saw was that they would come with expatriate conditions which were out of this world, considering our economy. And the expatriates were getting at times 30, 40 times more than the Zambian worker. So we started by changing the law in the Employment Code Act of number 3 of 2019, where we brought in the equal pay for equal work of equal value, meaning that if you have an engineer expatriate and is coming into Zambia and the Zambian engineer working in the same mine, the base salary should be the same. They may differ with the terms and conditions, such as maybe an allowance of maybe repatriation, for instance, when he's going back. But we expect that if it is housing allowance, it should be the same.
Sorry to disturb you. What year was that?
2019.
2019. Oh,
Yes. In the past, there was no law that was compelling equal pay for equal work of equal value. Since independence, since the 1960s, there was nothing. So when under the PF government, that was changed to make sure that number one, we start to monitor equal pay for equal work of equal value. Number two, we removed discrimination in terms of how the person is going to be employed if they have same qualifications. Number three, we mandated gratuity at 25%. It was now for the first time in the law. Number 3, we created in the law a monitoring mechanism of expatriate labor, which was not there. There was no monitoring mechanism of how many expatriates, and then information. Number 5, we raised issues to do with getting statistical information about the employers in a manner prescribed by the Labor Commissioner. This is in the law in 2019. Number 5, we changed the law in terms of policy documents, where now we created the mandatory system within the law that each employer must have policies that are guiding, and these policies must be given to the employee and they must be attested, meaning that they are signed for without any due influence or misrepresentation or whatever. And 5, we also now put in the law where the Labor Commissioner can actually sanction and give fees to the person that abrogates the law. Then number 5, we started the conversation in terms of having the minimum sector-based minimum wage in the mines. Remember, when we left, there was a sector-based minimum wage which was created for the transport sector for the first time, SI 106, which was started as a first law to create an environment where there was regulation within the transport sector. We said each sector has specific things that make the sector tick. We started discussing 1, the mining sector; 2, also in the media. This is what you see, the communication sector, which is media. That is why we were thinking about regulation, media self-regulation, in short, whereby there must be certain standards that a person who is going to be a journalist is going to be held with, training and also remuneration, because we found that there was a lot of abuse where someone comes from school and the next day is put on the radio. I doesn't even know how to answer questions, doesn't even know, he's not trained, by the way, but is broadcasting information about the people, so it about anything. So all those things were starting to be discussed. So we left at that point in time where that, and then number 3, for the first time we had the productivity policy, which was not there in place in the Ministry of Labor. That is in the part as to start to set the base for labor relations and industrial relations. That was the base that was started. When you shift to public service has now, at the point that when we were leaving, there were about 15 trade unions that were negotiating with government. This time, in the teaching sector alone, there are almost 20 trade unions. There were 11, I think 10 more have been added to represent the workers. Now, when you have 20 trade unions, it means the workers will have a raw deal. Now, in a negotiated sector, you cannot do anything as government. Government is not allowed to interfere with the process of collective bargaining. It is what the unions are able to convince government on the need to increase the salaries. So the terms and conditions that are discussed with the trade unions, it is on the strength of the trade unions. And the trade unions' mandate is to hold government accountable to the things that government has signed for. Number 1, for instance, issues to do with settling in allowance, subsistence allowance, double class allowance, remote allowance. Now, if a person is just employed, like right now, most people say, oh, they have been employed 30,000. Have 30,000 people been given their settling in allowance? Have they been given their 4 days subsistence allowance, which is their entitlement? So there are things like that, which outside government negotiates. So once government has negotiated, there's nothing what everyone else can do. The Emoluments Commission now has been interfering with the negotiation because they want, when people have negotiated, then they go and sit down and negotiate.
Okay.
So those are some of the measures that were left in there, Vasimukonda, as I was leaving office. So that is what is there.
Fantastic. Okay, that's a nice submission, nice write up. But I think the volume of what we want to find out is the average Zambian. Now, but Danny, are you there now?
Been here all along. I just jumped in the pool a few minutes and I jumped out.
Oh, nice.
Just cool myself and then
calm down. Calm down. Yeah.
Yes. So, so for me, I'm a very, as a scientist, I like to base my facts on, my discussion on facts and documents
Uh,
and reference material.
uh,
And when it comes to the mining sector in Zambia, I don't know, some of you might know this. The authority in Africa, there's a journal called the Mining Focus Africa. That's a journal. You can Google that. Um, a friend of mine who works in the mines told me that if you really want to know about what's going on in the mining sector in Africa, just subscribe, or it's not subscribing. You can read what is going on in Africa in terms of mining. It's called Mining Focus Africa. Okay. When I read an article 2 days ago, and I saved that article myself because it was so positive about the title. People can you can Google that. It says the positive outlook on um, Zambian mining-led economic outlook. That was the title. And if you read that article, it will tell you the good things happening about our country. And as Zambians, we should be very proud of our leader. First of all, it talks about the mining leading the way of economic performance or
uh,
economic growth of Zambia.
uh,
The
yeah.
mining sector is
Yep.
always is on the center of this, and it
Mm,
has led. You can imagine it was minus something percent when UPNDA took government, but now it's
yeah.
at 5.8% growth rate this year as we speak, and next year is projected to 6%. It's all mining, and this article talks specifically about the things that are going on in Zambia in terms of mining. One, the copper output, they call it the surge in copper production. There is an uphill increase in the copper production in our country. Right now, from last year to this year, it says this article, I'm not going to read word for word, but this article says Zambia copper output has exceeded, the target is 1 million metric tons per year. But just last year, the production went to 222,000 metric tons, which is 30% increase from the previous year. So from 2024 to 2025, Zambia copper production has gone up by 30%. Okay, and they are projecting that from 2025 to 2026, it will go up by about 15%, 12 to 15%. So we are really going to hit that 1 million target
mm,
by
100%.
2027, 28. So it's really good thing. And then they talk about specific projects that have gained fruits, that have come to conclusion. The first one they talk about is that the uh, first quantum minerals has completed a 1.25 billion expansion at Kansanshi.
Yes.
It has been put there, and it also talked about Barrick Gold having invested real $2.2 billion to double the output at Wanama and extended the mine's life to 2057. So this is things that have been completed according to to this Africa mining focus Africa. And then they talked about things that are in the pipeline. Things that are in the pipeline. All right. They talked about Mopani Mines, the resurgence program, blah, 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 blah. Cobalt, I don't know who cobalts are, Anglo American and all that. So they're talking about 3 other projects that are in the pipeline. Within this year, they're going to come to fruition. So to me, it's really, really something positive. Our country is really on the right path. They talk about geological mapping drive, which is in Zambia right now, which is really pinpointing where our minerals are. I didn't have
Mm,
no idea that we were still living in prehistoric ages where we didn't know what was in our ground, in our soil
Mhm.
until
mm,
now. We know
yeah,
exactly what
mhm.
Zambia holds as of now,
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
thanks to the technology that the government has
Exactly.
engaged with these high tech. So to me, this is very positive. I I really really like it. What's going on, and as my friend Chandagazia said, the people on the ground have to start benefiting. But to me, as a Zambian, I think when you start looking at the trickle effects of development in any country, Malaysia, for example, when it did that, the Malaysian people started, is it Malaysia or whatever? Yeah, I think it's Malaysia.
Singapore.
Yeah, Singapore. They started seeing the benefits of what the president did after 15 years, 1 5. That's when an ordinary Singapore citizen started seeing the effects. So the moment you are investing these huge things in the mining sector, you're increasing the production of copper by average 25% per year after year. Of course, the price of minimum, the salaries are not gonna come today. We have to know that
Exactly.
economic turnaround takes time. This is only 3 years, 4 years. We are not gonna see it. We have to be realistic. We are not gonna. That civil servant is not gonna have 100% salary increase today. It will not happen because the trickle effects will take. A good example in this same article they talked about Zambian. What about the Zambian? If you read the article, what about the Zambian? Is he enjoying? And they said they have to be patient. The Singapore, whatever, the country in Asia that started such type of thing, the citizens started seeing the effects of the economic recovery after 15 years. So if us as Zambians are going to say, okay, we produced 220 metric tons of copper yesterday, increase our salaries as well today, that's not being realistic. Let's be patient. The economic turnaround takes years, people. It takes years. It's not something like you go to the grocery store, someone gives you $10, tomorrow you're gonna buy a loaf of bread. No, it doesn't happen that way. So that's all I can tell the Zambians. Let's be patient. We are on the right track, and let's get an example of is that Singapore? Yeah, Singapore example. 15 years passed before an ordinary the citizens started enjoying the benefits of their president's direction. So to me, that's what I can say. I know the oppositions are saying, "What's the price of minimum? What's the salary of a civil servant? You can't buy a kabeka meda, blah blah blah." You need let's hold on, people. Let's hold on. Things gonna be better. Thank you.
But
Yeah,
Vakazia, I think you got a lot
yeah,
to say
yeah,
on this one.
yeah. No. But you see, but Dan's point of view for the long term is right. You see, for the long term is right. But there are certain short term measures that make the long term vision not to be appreciated. And if they are not taken care of, that is where everything is lost. And we've been losing that long term view because we are ignoring the short term ones. One of the short term ones is this: how do we explain you have an engineer, Zambian trained, worked in the mine maybe 10 years, right now as it is, a geologist 10 years, and then you have an experienced geologist who is employed in Australia by First Quantum, and then he shows up at the doors of, and starts to work with the Zambian. Then the Zambian is getting $5,000 per month. Then this guy is getting $25,000. You see, this unfair,
Okay, I think
unfair.
those are Vakazia, those are the
No,
issues that you should
yeah.
have
So,
dealt with.
so
Well, you're
look at
holding that office.
this is why I was telling you about the law, the changing of the law. The law was changed, and we started to deal with that.
Yeah, but the law is
Till
not
now,
being followed.
what? If it's not being followed, how is that now my responsibility? I'm out.
No,
You understand?
but the thing is this:
Mhm,
if the law, according to what you're saying, there's
mhm,
a law, okay?
mhm,
Because I saw it myself
mhm.
firsthand when I was working for a certain company. One individual came from India, okay? And they paid him double what I was being paid, and renting his house in Kabloga, and I had to train him on how systems work and everything.
Yeah, and then after you train him, they fire you.
Okay? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I realized, I was like, look, why we don't appreciate? I think the labor laws in Zambia don't appreciate.
No, they
Um,
they they do, Bachanda.
no,
Let,
no, I'm
let me
telling you,
tell
like
you, when you
here,
left,
here, kuno mdala wanje. I can tell you 100%, 110%. A
that,
Canadian is better than anybody.
No, but you see, in a way I work here in Canada, I get money like any other person in my position. There's nothing like, oh, this one is what. No, I am equally trained, equally trained. I get the same money like anyone in my area. And that is not even hidden. It's in the company, is known by everybody. So we must be able first to put that in perspective. What I'm telling you, Bachanda, in the past, before 2019, our laws were weak. That is why 8 years ago we started to change the employment code, codifying it, bringing in the minimum wages and the condition of employment cap 278, the Employment Act up to cap 268, the special provisions and everything, putting them in one and then strengthening it. The problem that has been there is that when people are recruiting these monitoring mechanisms, people to monitor, you go and recruit 30,000 teachers, and yet we can only have 150 labor officers.
No, no. I think you're going.
No,
That's
no,
not
no.
what.
I'm just giving an
That's
example that
not what
you
I was
see.
talking about.
No, no, no. Listen, you're not listening to me. Don't
Yeah,
cut
I
me
mean,
so
I
that
am,
you
but
understand.
that's not what we're
See the
talking about.
relationship. I'm talking about the relationship to where you have a good law, but it's not enforced. It's about enforcing mechanisms that are there. So it's not about that the law is not there, which protects people. It is there. Like the sections I was telling you, they are there in the employment code. But then who is enforcing them? The capacity to enforce is a problem right now. And it was a problem when we changed the law. And one of the solutions was that let's work with the local government, occupation safety department, so that they become inspectors, and then the administrative part of local government can help us into labor relations, which means dispute resolution mechanisms within the districts. So these things are there on paper. What I would love is to see government jump in and capacitate the ministry to follow up all these things, because you imagine these mines are huge. They have huge numbers of people, and they have a lot of highly very qualified people. You need focused kind of check. So when I talk about this, it's a small measure to respond to Badani's point, to say what Badani was saying is an overall long-term strategy. And remember, even says we must be patient to look at as we look in the future. But then I'm saying this oversight long future that you're looking out for is usually overdone by things like what I'm pointing out, things like these unfair biases that are happening
Mm.
at na-
You're the people that.
I was part of the solution. That's why I changed the law. That's why when you go there, the documents are there of what was done. What
So,
I'm telling you, who is in
mm,
government, change any strategy. You can't just be condemning everything. Muli bantu
okay.
bashani manje.
So, now we need to look at our mining sector. What if you have imigodi copper belt? Okay, there are a lot of people that are mining illegally, and then ichalo balenda nani baecheta tawe lekeni abantu aba tuwapereko tuma license. Okay, and then in the same sector as we're speaking, ichalo cha Zambia chalikwata mukubawo kwati it's one of the richest in the world. Nga twakuma emerald, nshishibyo emerald, for all the governments in the past, they have failed to explain the emerald mining system. But emerald, nobody has ever explained it. Why? Yourself have a government, yaya, tabala ndapo tabeka tapo, twalishitisha emerald, tabasha.
Bajanda, nimumufile mwatu eba nimumuli mubuteko.
Nshaba kumaini, nshuboba
No,
kumaini.
because you see, what is there is that in the pusher on the systems that I left, and also what was done on specific things. So I am here to explain, to say we shouldn't maybe go back and start to look 10 too many what we have already. What we have already, the laws are there, the policy systems are there. What is causing the non-implementation? And then I give you a hint. As you guys that are supporting UPND government, to say, Moneni, I am a document, it's just enforcement. But then
Okay.
when I give you the the leakage that you need to enforce at wale chita enforcing.
Okay. Bakalinda,
Ah,
mwawere ni bani? Bakalinda mwachankunwa ti?
I'm here. I'm here.
Mulanda at North London vala isoluvilo.
Ah, well, that already today.
So anyway, what Sana is today and with different topics, but the main topic today and in the mining sector, and the big one is, you know, ni tatoa kuatira that ownership when it comes to our mines. You know, why don't we have the ownership? Why is it?
I think we still have a slavery mentality.
Hmm.
We haven't yet reached to a
Yes.
point where why can't we
Yes.
negotiate like what the
What
South
PF did.
Africans do? What the South Africans do? I mean, come on! If you're bringing in investment, at least give us 50%. That should be the baseline to
Mhm.
me. Because if the South Africans can do it, the Namibians and the Swanas can do it. Why can't we? Why can't we have the same?
But
Because I mean,
Waka-
we already have a roadmap from other countries. Why can't we do the same? I mean,
Wakalinda,
the closest we have is that the Mopani deal where we have a 41% stake. Where is that
which we
Mopani
sold
facing?
from 90%.
Yeah. Why can't we have that? So for me, I believe. I mean, I'm not gonna say lead. I mean, I'm gonna say leadership. The people that are leading us and that are in charge of negotiation on our behalf. I
Mhm.
mean, I just don't get it why we can't get at least 50% of ownership in the mines, and then we're going to celebrate.
Bakalinda, before you go any further, has this just happened now, or it's been
Yes.
I
it's been
Yes.
mean, since Kaunda,
No,
how long
Wakalinda.
have
to
been
me,
After
holding
that,
the
for long?
Kaunda era. To me, I look at it
Wakalinda mumpele ko
since
chance
the
to speak
Kaunda.
to that after Wakalinda.
Since the Kaunda era. I mean, why are we celebrating about a mining firm giving us, 91 million quarter in dividends when they are getting billions of dollars? Why are we celebrating that? I'm just asking. And I'll leave it there for Wakazia to come in because he said he wants to respond.
Yes, Wakalinda, your statement is I back it 2000%. And you see, for me, it breaks my heart because I stayed on the copper belt for almost a month dealing with matters of that nature and discovering glaring things which made us start to change. Number one, when we received Mopani at a silver platter, I can tell you, although the deal was not the best, I should say. But we started by having 90% shareholding, which for me, I was thinking the European deal, if we made the wrong strategies in how to place it, they would have still corrected it and maintained the 90% shareholding. We needed that to be a Zambian asset because when you look at the mine, when you look at Mopani, why those guys ran to do the care and maintenance, which they overturned when we went there and arrested the general manager who wanted to run away. They overturned the care and maintenance. And that is how Mr. Sakanya was appointed CEO, because of that CEO who was brought in and wanted to put a mine on care and maintenance. And we said, what are your reasons of putting this mine on care and maintenance? He didn't have any. They had a brand new shaft, which I inspected, went 1,200 underground. And they had a brand new smelter, which only needed $200 million to start working. The shaft needed about 50 million, I think 50 to $100 million. It is done. Everything done. The resource was surveyed, put there, it is here. This is where we're going to get our minerals and stuff like that. That is what made ourselves run into the 90%, and we would have looked for an equity partner and would have been off this sale. We would have taken up that. Starting on a shareholding of even 50% of our calendar would do a lot, because after our dividends, we share profit. We share 50%. These guys, Glencoe, were making $100 million each of the shareholders. And there is there on internet when you look at why poverty. Now imagine as a country at 50%. If they made 5 billion, would have made $5 billion in terms of money going to our treasury. And if we have 5 billion, if we have even $2 billion going into our treasury, what can we do with that money? We can do a lot. But right now, we are pleading for jobs. Because right now, what will happen is that there is no country which can develop from jobs. Jobs, pay as you earn, and we say we can actually revamp our mining sector. We need ownership. And this ownership, Bakalinda, is the best way to go. If we can start, whoever is coming, is the mere fact that not to quarter copper, not to quarter a stake in it. We have a starting point. We have a resource that you are looking for. And this resource now, let's start talking about other things. 20% is to be in the basket because it is already there in the ground. How about going forward? Now imagine in FQM, what percent do we have? 20% shareholding, they have 80%. They can make decisions in whatsoever they want and will do nothing. So, Bakalinda, these mines, John said they should cast us. If you look at Vendetta, they are always. I'm telling you, and I told you, remember I said, Ababanyamata, 2 billion promise, which they never give the people. They never. Now, it's like, and look at what how they were treating our contractors. Our Zambian contractor, Leimboku, $250 per meter. Ukukula Yomusungu, $15,000 a meter. And these same guys who come as workers end up making companies and become suppliers and then leave. And do you know how they leave? They say we had voluntary separation with the mine. Bamupele mpia yonse maybe $10 million asenda. I am South Africa, I Karapangana company, I'm supply. Awesu ama Zambians who have been supplying our mines for 30 years, they are still there seated. No one is looking after them. We need to change our mentality in terms of this ownership. It hates me. I want to see our shareholders.
Okay, but Danny, you've been too quiet. But Danny, are you there?
I'm here.
What's your 2 cents on the whole operation?
The good thing about our current living, we are living in, all the facts are on our fingertips. All the facts are on our fingertips. And again, I go back to the mining magazine of Africa. It clearly states what happened during the PF, what they are calling 90% shareholding. Okay? It is the Zambian government, according to this mining magazine. Again, that was 2021 version I'm reading here. PF government acquires 90% shareholding from Glencore. It says Zambian government paid $1 upfront to Glencore. However, Zambian government assumed 1.5 billion in debt, which was vendor financed, owned by Glencore, to be repaid from Mopani's future cash flows. It goes stock. Now, here is what the problem of this deal was, which PF doesn't say.
Okay.
I
love that.
This is what the Mining Africa Focus talks about.
Okay.
PF talks about 90%.
Okay.
We got 90%. What that meant was the following. PF celebrated this as Zambia reclaiming Mopani for Zambians. But here is the biggest problem of this deal, which Chandagazia is not talking about. Okay? This deal put Zambia in a very, very heavy debt. It was a debt-heavy deal for Zambia, which was going to subject Zambia to paying a debt for the next 35 years. That's what it meant. It was very heavy. What do they describe it as? Debt-heavy deal for Zambia. It didn't make any sense, in the sense that Zambia, for this 90%, they were supposed to be Glencore. In effect, Glencore, what they're saying, Glencore exited the operations of this mine, but still remain to be paid, to be repaid their obligations by the Zambian government for the next 35 years. They were still financially tied. Zambian government was still going to be paying Glencore for 35 years. So here we go, we say we have outpaid 90%. And yet this company said, okay, get your 90%, give us $1. $1 they got from Zambian government. But you're going to be paying us this amount of money every year for the next 35 years. That's why it was a bad.
How much were they supposed to be given? According to that document.
They got $1.
Yes, but how much was Zambian supposed to be giving them?
This article doesn't say it, but it says it was. It said, here is the problem. PF celebrated this as Zambian reclaiming Mopani for Zambians, but this was a very bad, debt-heavy deal for the country. That's how this article describes it. It was a bad, debt-heavy deal for Zambia. It was going to subject Zambia to be paying Mopani and Glencore for the next 35 years. That's the reason why the UPND government, when they came, they said, no, we can't get the so-called 90%, and yet we'll be paying Mopani, Glencore for the next 35 years. Let's deal with it now this way. Okay. We can't subject our grandchildren for the... Glencore is going to be sitting in the corner there collecting money from Zambia for the next 35 years.
Okay. Let me correct a few things there, Dan, and the things that you also, that article does not address. That article does not address the quantums. It doesn't speak about the amounts, deliberately so.
Oh, okay. I'm reading it. Here it is.
Okay, give me the figures.
Yes, it's here.
Okay.
The main challenges. Guys, we should be reading this as Zambians.
Go ahead, Badani, because I have answers here.
Okay, here I'm reading the same from Africa Mining Focus. It's very important. Challenges after PF Mopani takeover. Number one challenge. Okay. Mopani needed over 300 million in working capital immediately to stabilize its operations from the Zambian government. So they gave them $1. Okay, and then they demanded 300 million in working capital immediately. Okay,
remember I talked about it.
The production, however, they are saying the challenges PF was celebrating over the takeover, but these are the challenges. First of all, the Mopani people said, now that we have taken over, we don't have 300 million to operate this mine.
Yes.
Zambian government did not have a 300 million of working capital.
So it had, and I'll tell you.
Yes. So Mopani now said, now I'm saying Ndamaini. Okay. So for me, I need 300 million of working capital. Otherwise, they folded their hands. So what happened? Production started declining 100 metric tons per year after the Zambian government got it. 1,000 metric tons because Zambian government did not have working capital.
When you say 100,000 metric tons, did a year elapse to determine that 100?
The production, because there was no working capital, the production was gonna decline 100,000 metric tons per year, far below its potential of before they took over. ZCCMI lacked technical, financial, and human capacity to run this complex mine.
That is a lie.
The mine, here we go. The mine could not even generate enough cash flow to service the 1.5 billion debt that Glencore wanted immediately. So it's something that PF was celebrating, but it was a bad deal.
I will explain. At least I was part of it, so I will explain nicely.
Let me forward this article to everybody to read.
Yes, after that is, in fact, I am so happy. If you can throw that article, I will dissect it right here and answer to each and every concern and show you how people went and manipulated things to make sure that the Zambians look bad, like they have no capacity. And I'm going to give you the right information right here today. Not those articles that are written with a biased mind that we cannot run a company. Who tells them? What audacity do they have to say that, oh, the Zambian did not have the capacity?
Financial capacity.
Even the financial capacity was there. And I'm going to tell you where the finance was going to come from. The problem is that people manipulated that information to put at an international face so that they can have a reason to take over our mind. That is exactly what it was. The people that negotiated that deal were not the Zambians. They were people that had a lot of experience in negotiating transitions like what Glencoe was putting across. They never tell you that there was an option of equity partnership and how that deal was going to be done had an equity partner be found. They never tell you that. They never tell you about the resource which is surveyed and quantified there. They say this is, like you say, they survey, they make sure that it's a defined resource, then the tonnage that is there. They never tell you that. They will never tell you that at that point when they wanted to leave, they had already mapped up the resource which was going to deal with the smelter. And an equity partner was going to be found just like that. Just like that. And number two, the 300 million, you remember I told you to say, oh, what was required for the smelter was what? 250 million. For the shaft was what? $50 million. And at that point in time, 500 million through two government institutions was there. NAPS had that 500 million and Workers' Compensation Fund Control Board. Who would have taken the 10% shareholding and given us that money? And that would have remained what? A Zambian asset. So the 500 million was there. The same institution that are financing the Ndola and Duo Carriage Road, the money, where did the money come from? It came from two Zambian institutions. And I happened to have been the controlling officer for those two institutions. So I knew how liquid they were. So to come and say there was no financial capacity is a total lie. They never tell you about the equity partner.
Can I finish?
Number
The
two,
article has two more paragraphs.
Let me just maybe respond as
because
you,
it talks about UPN government different approach.
let me first of all, let me finish this, but then you can tell me what the UPND government did. Now, because I'm talking about what the article is not speaking to, which I think they should have spoken to. Because Dan, you say you always look at the positives and negatives. What is the positive in that deal which was there?
That's what I want to read.
And remember, I said it was not the best deal. It was not the best. Now, does it mean the UPND have given us the best?
That's what I want to read.
You understand? So the people that look for these mines and this, here is that mine which has with the people we've given the mine. If no mines, they just brought in money. If the money was not done there, they even just played around with words, financial words, and we ended up financing it as debt as well. So the question of saying, oh, that deal which was done was disastrous, and the 25 years was going to be terminated immediately an equity partner is found. Or if we raised the production and paid off the money, that was going to end. The 25 years was made to make sure that the time value of money, when people look at the time value of money, at least I'm lucky that I'm married to an actuary and a chartered financial analyst who will tell you about the time value of money. Why would you pay $1.5 billion in the next 25 years? It was because of the time value of money, looking at what was invested in when you pay $1. And they also had interest in what was going to be produced. 20% was going to be given to Glencoe. So it's not that that deal in entirety was wrong. Okay, let's say that certain aspects of that deal was wrong. Why shouldn't UPND come and maximize only 90% and restructure a few things to make it? Or can she bring it to 60%? Or can she bring it to 70%? At least we should have been the majority shareholding. Whatever you corrected, if PF messed up, if we messed you guys like really bad, we should have at least even maintained the 51% shareholding so that we have the majority, a controlling shareholding. That was not done.
Can I finish now? Please, and then someone else can talk. Because
go ahead.
So this article, again, Mining Focus Africa Mining Focus, it says the rationale for PF government was naturalistic policy to increase government control of strategic mines. 2, political gain ahead of 2021 elections. 3, belief that copper prices will rebound and Mopani would quickly generate profit for Zambia and then pay off the debt in a short period of time. Now, why did UPND government come and have a different approach? when UPND government came in power in 2021, they did not receive, they did not reverse, they did not reverse a 90% ownership. Instead, wow, I didn't know that. Instead, they looked for strategic equity partner to recapitalize Mopani. Mamfa, when UPND came in power, they did not reverse the 90% ownership. Instead, they looked for a strategic equity partner to recapitalize Mopani. The reason was A, they inherited a debt burden from PF Glencore deal. 2, they acknowledged that Zambia could not afford the billions of dollars needed to revitalize Mopani without private investment. And 3, their economic philosophy was investment-led growth other than state control growth. Those were the outcomes of
you see, and those are the capitalistic
one more paragraph. The outcome of this decision by UPND in December 2023, UPND secured a 1.1 billion investment agreement with International Resources Holding of UAE company, giving them the stake in Mopani. The deal recapitalized Mopani, paying off the debt and boosting the production that was initially going down into 200,000 metric tons increase in the production of more. So Mopani has been revitalized now. Instead of reducing in the product, because Glencore, they just said, but they folded their hands. They said, if you want to produce. But Zambia could not do that. But now, we are now producing 200.
But Danny, you are wrong. Including the author of that document, you are wrong. And I would want to challenge the person who wrote that with questions. Because those questions, you are not going to answer them. You cannot answer them. Neither are they being answered in the document. They are not. You see,
are you saying that the production at
no, I'm not starting with the production. The production would have increased steadily. And the same way that we're saying, there is something that they are not saying. Number one, how much did the Resource Foundation bring in? How much? And how much was owed? What?
1.1 billion.
How much money did the Glencore want?
1.5.
You see? Eh?
Okay. I think. Listen
to this one. One more minute to Achanda, then I'm done. How much more? How much were we supposed to pay? What timeline were we given to pay this 1.5 billion? And then number 2, didn't we have a 500 million in Zambia right at that right moment in time? We had that money using the Zambian state-owned assets. And this is one of the things I said, rather than the state-controlled. But look at everywhere that we are moving into, Zambia, Botswana, South Africa, Tanzania. They are not letting the investors come and run their mines. They are getting the higher stake. We are the only ones that are giving it for free for them. And everything that they brought in, they will get. And we shall remain with jobs. And the jobs will take us nowhere because we are also underpaid in the same jobs that people are working in. We need to change the mindset and start having majority shareholding. We cannot have 100%, basically because we also need maybe some huge guys with that have known, but we need to run the majority shareholding. On human resource, we have the best engineers. They are there. Sakanya is there. Simuto is there. There are others. Banda was there.
Okay.
Zambians running the mines.
Well, you talk a good game. You talk a good game, but it's something that was never implemented when the PF government was in power. So
it was implemented. You destroyed it.
No.
It never materialized.
During the PF government,
that was 2020.
Yeah, but there was no mine that was 100% owned by Zambians. So there was no mine that was 100% owned by Zambians.
You are correct. So, there was only mine owned 90%. Now tell me which mine is owned 100% by Zambians in the current.
So here's what before we lose our thought.
Papa mine pain. I think I've known a little bit more than you guys because I was
knowledge. Yes, we appreciate your knowledge. We appreciate your knowledge.
A little bit more.
We appreciate your knowledge.
Personal experience, not just the knowledge, on the ground experience. because I went in these mines. So only the part, maybe now you can talk about now, but not then.
The ideology of PF was nationalism to
No.
all by national.
No.
The UPND prefers public-private sector
It's
partnership.
not public-private partnership when you're giving it away.
Let me
Nobody's
talk.
giving
Let me-
anything away. So,
let me
so
finish.
but here's the big deal. The big deal is this. We've just signed a big major project with Qatar. You know, Avandoa Katendalama oil company. Oil, those people are huge. They're like, so we've just signed a deal, an MOU.
Let him speak. Let him speak.
No, hold on. Let me just finish. We've just signed a great MOU that's going to encompass all these things. Ikatampa kuma mining, housing, agriculture, everything. Okay? So if you're from Walera and the Philadelphia Kariati, oh, these are the fruits. Now, if you see our delegations, they come to State House. I can tell you
But PF, but PF had politically attractive programs, but financially unsustainable.
Okay? I can tell you, even the president himself is telling
you are selling the country.
iwe walaleta koleba yaso inenalaita leba yaso twakana pakati twada ni business ofo yava
check the stakes that you have in these companies. Any shareholding.
That's why it's a private partnership. Not if you're from direct investment. Vaisa mwata bami perenderama and they batampo kumita dictator on what
if you live
partners. What coming in as partners?
Partners, you are not taking.
Me, I base my facts on professionals writing and talking.
We question the professionals. They've written. We question them, but then they don't have answers.
You guys, you are PF. You talk with the.
No, we question you when you bring your professionals. We question your professionals, and the professionals that you are quoting have no answers to the questions that we are posing.
To me, when I read facts written by when I want to find about biology,
okay, can I just come in for just a minute? I'm at work, so I'm in between. So anyway, let me just say here, I think it's best to go with facts than our own imagination.
Yeah.
When it comes to the mining industry, because that's an industry that employs more than half the country. That's why people are living on the copper belt. And now we have, a new exodus of young people going to the copper belt to look for, even Sowezi, to look for mining jobs. So, yes, there are wrong things that we've done. I question it myself, but let's take the positives out of everything that's been going on. Let's look at the last 10 years of PF. The mines were closing, or they were being put on receivership. We saw a situation where somebody was withdrawing 100 million kwacha, who is a receiver, and putting it in his own personal account. And then we had, the party of the day, which I'm not going to mention, using the mines as a money bag for their party activities in the country. Those are facts. Those are facts.
I have a question for you.
It's not a fallacy.
I have a question for you,
Akarinda. Let me finish. I know, okay, I'll answer your question, but let me finish. Okay. Now we go back in the last 4 years where mines are being resuscitated. People are being employed. Consumption as we speak, it's moving towards 20,000 employees. And then you talk about the thousand of, direct, what do you call them? Indirect, yes. Beneficiaries from the mines. And then the money that they're putting back into the economy, like paying dividends to the government. There was that announcement last week where FQM paid one of the largest dividends ever. In our how many years of as a country? 60 years. They paid one of the largest. Those are the positives that we need to be taking. The copper belt is once again firing up. Look at that oil refinery, 1.5 billion in dollar. Those are positives. I mean, nobody's gonna give you that money and say, okay, you guys own 100% or 90% of it. That's just the reality. It's business. But I mean, I'd rather get 41% of Mupani, and then I'm getting $20 million that is going into social investments, like community projects that are being, carried out every day. I'd rather do that than putting a mine on receivership. And then the money is being scrapping metals, whatever you're getting is going to party functionaries. That's the fact.
You
can
take over a mine.
You guys, you see. You find FQM had done a transfer price of $2 billion to Panama. The next thing
PF got 90%, but they had no money to run the mine.
The money was there, only that
Why did you run the mine? You put it on
no, listen, the problem, you see, don't use $2 billion. Abantu na mubekata basende ndalama bafushe mpia mchalo mwabeka.
Let's talk about the mine, please.
No, I'm talking that's from the mine. What are you talking about? You want to pretend like you're angels. These guys are crooked.
The problem is you took all the
I think let's we need to close in the next.
Let me just finish this one up in 1 minute, and then I'll answer what Danny Nabakalinda in 1 minute. You see, what we're supposed to be doing forward, we go back into the PFUPND thing. It doesn't help us because I bring out these issues like 2 billion yafuma money. What did you do? You can't mine in court. The next thing, a fine of $22 million. How? We should be getting 2 billion from Mopani to government treasury. International Resource Foundation in 2024.
That's more than 1 minute.
No experience whatsoever.
In conclusion,
Minister of Justice.
It's fine.
Okay. So, anyway, we need to move forward and close it. So, sometimes kutasha efintu nga mwamu nefintu mwatasha nokutasha.
Efo tuleta chef, tulanga 2 billion namuleta bwino. Na tutashoka bati 2 billion yumuletere. Awe omfweni
teka nyedi. Uliria shio tulera ndapo wa government ya Zambia ne ya China na bengira mukati balanda awe mwe bantu bakwalesa tentumfwani if mwa Defma Stadium for that. In fact, China eba kulide Defma Stadium. Hero Stadium eba kulide kuna Copper Belt. Levi Mwanawasa.
Under a PFT.
Okay? It doesn't matter whether it was under whoever, but it was built. We're talking about the government. Nchiletepo UPND, mwemwe aletapo PF ni mwemwe. So the government ofo baleland, ofo balandi, ofo bonfwele na banani kan na China. Awe if into ifi lekeni fikwatiko an independent source of power in terms of solar. So now I still agree. Awe 20 megabyte, 20 megawatts or 20 whatever it is. Ya bala panganan kan station para pene pa stadium. Okay, meaning that and analysis over that stadium it only needs about 1 megawatt, and then shala ikala muma communities kumatero na mashala kuma I forget that place, all the other surrounding neighborhood areas, which is a good thing. So she of Amalite and stuff like that, it's coming in different forms, different angles, different they'll be shocked at the end of the year 2026 in Africa 2026 we're complaining about electricity or complaining about this, but what's this happening here? So these are the things that have never been advanced before. And as a matter of fact, the government should go and kind of hero stadium into a lucrative business. Keep all those abantu in the surrounding areas and make it into a cosmopolitan place where boutiques, shops. Before you even go to the mall, you're surrounded by all these beauties in terms of shops. Those are the ideas that I would present if I was somebody in charge of a project like that. Other than just having a big nice stadium and then surrounded by garbage and trash and stuff like that. Create an environment because it's surrounded by other businesses, and those other businesses, they coincide with the main arena. Well done.
Yeah. Adshan.
Hey, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, fantastic. So closing remark. Let's close up. Me, I'm there. I think I just did my closing remarks.
Oh, you did your closing remarks, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
To me, my closing remark. I'm very passionate about the Mopani thing and the mining thing, because this is driving our country forward. And I feel very sad to hear about PFs talking about, what we did was 90%. Oh, you shouldn't have reversed it. I do a lot of research myself before I talk. I want facts, and the Focus Mining Focus Africa, whatever they call that magazine, guys, let's read it. It's PhD in mining sciences. These authors that's what they do. That's all they do. They are mining consultant experts. So they talk sense. When they talk about mining in these African countries, they know what they're doing. They are experts. They are consultants in mining in Africa. They are Africans. They are not what they are Africans consultants. So when I read an article like that is analyzed by somebody like that, an African who specializes in mining, investments in mining in Africa, I really take it really seriously. And this article really has taught me a lot about the PF 90% talk, where they said it was going to be 90% takeover, but essentially debt-financed ownership. Okay, where Zambia was going to be, it was more of a symbolic type of gesture than a practical thing. That's what this PhD mining expert is talking about. It was more of a symbolic. It was done just before the elections to make sure that Zambians were saying, oh yeah, they've taken over, we are doing this. So it was a symbolic thing. It was not practical. UPND did not do that. They didn't want symbolism. standing on the pulpit, oh, we're doing this, when it was not financially practical. To me, yeah, the model that UPND took in Mopani was the best, and we are seeing the fruits right now from what they did. Other than for us, who would have been under the yoke of Glencore for the next 25 years. I don't like that, but now we are equal partners. We have our share, they have their share. Nobody owes anybody anything, which is the best. Otherwise, we would have been owning them for the next 25 years. I think what the government did was a very strategic investor type of model, other than what PF would have done. So, in short, to me, it's better for us to own 45% and not short of, not pay Glencore for the next how many years. So it's a good thing that we are doing. And I always encourage my friends, my PF people, please do your research and read some productions or articles from experts. We cannot all be experts. We are experts in our own fields, but when it comes to a specific field that you want to learn something, read from the experts and listen, other than just talking from a political point of view. Oh no, this and that. To me, that's the way I look at things. If I want to learn biology, I go to a biology PhD professor who has written an article about the cell or the whatever, because he's an expert. I'm not going to argue when talk about biology from a biology professor. No, he knows it best. So PF, please listen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vakalinda.
These are my final remarks on the subject.
Yes.
I think our resident PF brought out some very interesting, thoughts that we as people in power should act on, especially where labor matters are concerned. I think that's important for our people. They need a living wage. If they are making $250, how much is that in Qatar? 5,000 something. That's not a living wage. When the price of when a bag of meal it's 300 Qatar or 290 or whatever the price may be. Let's work on that. While we're bringing here, we appreciate the investment and we're getting people back to the working line. Let's also look at their wages. It's very important, and how their safety. That's also important for our people, because we want them to work for a long time so they can take care of their kids and their kids' kids. So on that, that's all I have to say. And then, of course, everything is working up now. Mupani is firing up. KCM is firing up. FQM is firing up. Kasech is firing up. Luansha is firing up. I'm told they're about to finish dewatering and fire that, mine up. So all these are good things, because we need them to work so that our people can get employment. And then, we attain that middle class status that has been eluding us forever. And so that's what I have to say on the mining topics today.
Thank you very much. Rakazia?
For me, you see, for me, what makes a very sad reading for me is that you colleagues that are in UPND, Limo, you should know that you can't get experience through books. You have to go through it. What I bring to this conversation is my personal experience and personal review of the things that I personally experienced and what I saw when I was in the office. Of course, I take time to read, but I also am critical of what I read. I don't just take everything at face value because they are written by a mining so-called expert who has not worked in the sector, probably. Who has just researched and analyzed things from a theoretical point of view. Most of the things that, yes, are written there are theoretical, because when they are challenged, I challenge what I read or what is said with questions. If someone responds to say, I don't know, I take it that they don't know what the issue is. And then I move on to say, okay, maybe because they don't have the answer for this, that is why they've spoken like this. And more importantly, on things that are pertaining to the Zambian mining sector itself, post 2021, because all these things that we're talking about were done in 2021. And I told you colleagues here, I went in the mines, I was there for a month, but Danny knows when I was on the copper belt, we used to talk. And what I would discover in those meetings that I had, speaking to the mine contractors, speaking to the unions in the mine, speaking to the contractors at different levels, the ones that were doing the shafts, the ones that were doing the vertical, drilling, the ones that were actually suppliers of heavy equipment. I spoke to most of them, Zambians, expatriates. I reviewed documents personally. The documents that probably some of the PhD scholars have not had sight because they will never be given such documents because of the privacy issues. I saw them. So at times I speak from a position of having that direct experience. Because when I was in the labor department and working in there, I had the unlimited access to the documents because of the way the law is structured. That's why certain things I can't review the details, the names and stuff like that. I can speak to the generalities of it. And that's why you hear me quickly say, no, that is not true because of ABCD. It's because I had that direct experience. And I would wish that you colleagues that are in the UPND, you need to hear from direct experience. At times, we may not make a lot of sense when we are bringing out these things, but when you start experiencing what we were experiencing, what we saw, and that is when we come back and tell you, oh, remember what I said. I have come to you colleagues here when we discuss and say, guys, remember what I said? Remember what I said? And Dan knows I always go back to him and say, what did I tell you on this? And then at that point in time, we find that things Dan or maybe understand. Yo badani imwe mwalishi ndiye mubikamo because timubutuke because there are things that we discussed that I discussed with you mwantalika ngafyasa achitikana abwera tibadani mwamona fena chimyeba. You know, at times you've agreed with me, at times you've said, maybe it's a dynamics that have changed. We have had those conversations in the background. But I can tell you, Badani, and everyone else what's under here, that this is meant that it's not meant to be malicious, but it is meant to support. Because I can also choose to just be one of those that keep quiet and watch why things happen. I can choose to be that, and there'll be nothing that I'll lose. So I appreciate the conversation. Then lastly, on the power, I think that's a good move. Let's encourage that kind of diversity, the use of that stadia into those programs of solar energy. If we can use that in Indola, we just also create other stadia and put the solar panels and start to, let the community start to benefit. That would be great. It will add a lot of value to our people.
Fantastic. I think we've all said most brilliant issues and stuff that everybody wanted to say. But Andagazia, of course, we acknowledge your input, but certain things.
Vadani, just on the public forum, at least if I offended you, I'm sorry about that. It was a conversation on the other forum. So if I misspoke about certain things and all that, it is never meant to disrespect you. You know that I respect you so very much.
I would understand. I mean,
I just want him to know that I am still your friend, Vadani. I respect and love our conversations.
All right, I will see you all tomorrow on Bantu TV when we discuss some interesting topics as always. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Make a date.
Okay, Minister of Justice, Valanda, Minister of Justice. So anyway, good night, guys. Good night, lady and gentlemen. We'll meet again next time, this same time, and discuss more issues. But otherwise, God bless and have a wonderful weekend. Everybody can go and relax and just have a drink and something like that and just relax. I mean, hey, just go and relax. Nobody you killed nobody. So the world is ours. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Yeah, see you tomorrow.